All right, so we're gonna try to fly this big old Opterra 2.0m. See how this goes. Here we go. Sounded weak. Okay, let's try that again.
You want me to launch it? You fly it?
Yeah, man, you can try it. Thanks.
I never could launch it by myself.
Okay. Thanks, buddy.
Just tell me when.
Am I throttling it up while you've got it, or are you gonna throw it and then I throttle it?
Yeah, throw it in the throttle.
Okay.
Don't want my
Hang on. Let me make sure I got full throttle there. Okay. All right, man. 3, 2, 1.
Is something fun?
I don't know. I don't think so. Let's try one more time. Huh?
Are you on high right?
Let's see.
Is the safe even working? Okay, yeah, safe working.
All right, well, throw it back this way toward the hill. And since that's kind of the way the wind's coming, and we'll try that.
Yeah.
Take,
About this way?
yeah. Yeah, just throw her up. Thanks, ma'am.
Looking good. That is a big
It's all right. My knees are a little on the shaky side. But...
You're good. Things float. It's a drain. Yeah, it's float. He's okay.
I'm full speed though.
Yeah, it's not a speedster.
Well, yeah, he is.
It'll glide forever. Oh, you're full.
Nah, I'm about.
3/4.
Yeah. Let's go down about half skis. See what he does.
Literally don't even change.
I think they're over Shelby County now.
Here's
I think you just passed
no stick.
you just passed
It dives pretty good. So I need to, I guess I need to move that battery back some more.
You want to come in and try and land it? And we'll move it back because you still got
You think it's nose heavy?
Well, it's just like, as soon as I take my hands off the stick, it comes down a little bit.
landing it, it'll literally, you gotta cut the power like over there. It's crazy.
Like the radian?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like a radian.
Maybe even more.
Probably because of that big one.
Okay, I'm gonna go 3 mistakes high and see what this does.
Lifting herself and everything else.
It is a big one. A roll, alright, cool.
All right, so the safe does work. I was worried it wasn't gonna come out of that roll.
I know, it's slow, ain't it? It does pretty quick loops.
Right in front of us.
Okay. Wait. Perfect.
Boo, Zaki! Throttle cut. Click. Test it. Nice. Maiden number 2 today. 222.
Let's figure it out.
It's project time! Action! Hey friends, welcome on back to the Dave It Yourself channel. My name is Dave and this is my channel. It is project time. That's right, I have the red apron out, and you know what that means? That means we're going to be working on something. Well, what are we going to be working on today? We're going to be working on the Opterra 2.0 meter. What am I going to be doing to the Opterra 2.0 meter, you may ask yourself? Well, I want to give it the same treatment I gave to my Night Radiant. If you haven't seen that, I'm going to go ahead and put that link right up here in the corner so you can check that out later. But for this particular video, bottom line is I want to give this bird some landing gear. So I have a spare Aero Scout here that's mostly gutted out except for the landing gear and the servos. So I'm going to see if I can't retrofit the gear from the Aero Scout into the Opterra 2.0 meter, and then maybe what I'll do is even take it off of the Gen 8. No, I'm not going to do that. Although that does sound like something I would do. So, for all seriousness, that's the plan for this particular video series, is to get the gear out of the Scout, get it into the Opterra, and then get this thing to take off and land. So if you want to see exactly if that is even possible, and if it is possible, am I the guy to make it happen? Well, the only way to answer that is for you too. That's right. Stick around. Nice. And cut. All right, friends, so let's go ahead and work on getting this Aero Scout apart. I've got a battery in here for right now just to hold the nose down through that presentation, so let's take that out. Put that off to the side as well. The old man specs on so I can take a look and see what's going on here. And of course, I have some paper tape and hot glue with a little extra strut, some zip ties that I'm using for some extra struts to help keep these landing gear from spreading out too much. May need to do that when I install it on the Opterra as well. But looks like definitely need to get a screwdriver and got to get a cutting blade, it looks like, as well. So let me go ahead and get those things. All right, friends, so I've got a screwdriver here, so I'm going to go ahead and work on getting some of this. And of course, to make it easier for you to watch, I'm going to go ahead and speed it up right now. All right, friends, so as you can see, I got everything out of the Aero Scout there as far as the landing gear. I even have a little bit of a pad if I need it here for the balsa wood to screw these mounts into, but I'm going to try to do the paper tape and hot glue route, of course. So we'll see about whether or not I actually need these, but I still have the other ones left inside the Aero Scout, but I got all the other landing gear stuff off. So we'll go ahead and clear this stuff up. Here's the zip ties, and I just slipped in through just put another zip tie at the bottom, and then zipped it on there. So we may redo that. But anyway, I got the Scout gear off, and we'll go ahead and get the rest of it cleaned up. And then what we'll do next is we will see about retrofitting it into the Opterra. So if you want to see the rest of this video, you know what I recommend you do. You stick around. All right, friends, so we've got the landing gear set up out of the Aero Scout. Got the rear set up here as well as the front setup. And as far as the servo, I'm actually going to be using the elevator servo here because it already has the arm with the single connector on it as opposed to the double arm like the other one with the rudder and the front steering. So I'm going to just use that. And then as far as getting these retrofitted into here, I think my initial thoughts are, let's see. Well, let's see what my initial thoughts are. All right, so one of the things about the Opterra is it does have quite a large cavity here. Let me go ahead and zoom in a bit so you guys see some of that. It does have a very large canopy here area, and even here on the side you have some area up underneath here on both sides, so we have plenty of room to work with. Looking at the landing gear setup, I think the thing to do will be, of course, to focus on the front landing gear first and see about getting that in. And I think the plan is, I'll just have this pushed together. Let's just take this apart real quick. There we go. And this, and this. Okay. I think the plan will be, because this part here, which is the bottom part, which is the part that sticks out of the Aero Scout at the very bottom, I think instead of trying to push it in from the bottom, because here on the bottom in this front area we have this plastic skid plate, so there's really no way to push this in without really either taking this off or cutting a huge hole in this plastic skid plate. So I think the other idea instead will be to come into here and mount it flush in here, because there's a channel here that I can just cut out a little bit more foam, make that happen. Mount it flush into there, and then from there, from the other side, since it is the plastic skid plate, I think what I'll do is I'll just use a reamer or something like that, make a hole big enough for this shaft to go through, and then go in through the hole in the front plastic here, immediately into the faceplate of this bracket here, and then from there we can mount it up in there. But I think that'll be the way to do that, and I think that'll, with it being plastic here, help, you know, that little bit of a millimeter or two gap between it by the time it hits the actual plate there. I think that hopefully that'll keep it in place and should be in decent shape there. So we'll work on that. And then as far as the rear gear goes, less of an issue there because we're dealing with foam back in this area. The CG points are right here. So what I was thinking is, with the way that this is, because it's kind of a block scenario, would probably cut some foam or melt some foam and get it to mount inside the block, mount it flush inside there. But before I do that, of course, put the front landing gear on, see how low it sits in case I need to adjust how deep this goes into the foam. But when I'm doing some initial testing, of course, with the Aero Scout, you know, it's just a flat tab landing gear. So to test it, I can flip the plate over so that it sits flush with the plane, put the gear back on, and then I can just use the old paper tape and hot glue method if I want to, just to test it to make sure it will work, hold all that weight, that kind of thing. And then from there, I haven't gone through the whole process of cutting out the foam if it's not going to work properly. But it should work pretty good, and I'm thinking this should be fine. I'm not too worried about the springiness of the Aero Scout gear. The gear, as you can see, does seem to stick out past the actual fuselage itself and starts to go up underneath the wing some where the seam is a little bit more. So that should be nice with the, obviously, the wing width and length on this particular plane. So hopefully that'll be nice. And as far as the springiness, like I said, I'll probably just use the zip tie setup I had before to help keep these from springing out too far. But I think that'll be the plan on how we'll do that. So if you want to see how that comes along and how I go about with this, you know what to do. Stick around. All right, friends, so I went ahead and laid out a pillow here so that I can get a little bit closer to the project and also keep it protected. I think my first plan here is to basically just use maybe a screwdriver or something like this, just go ahead and kind of mark the center from inside here, and maybe be able to push it through enough to maybe dimple the plastic on the other side, and then that way I should be able to give myself a decent starting spot. So that's what I'm going to do there. Based on this plate, I want the landing gear to probably be somewhere in this area, I'm thinking, right past where the wings start, right in that area. I don't want to be too far back, too far forward. So got this other battery plate in here I really need to remove. Let me get that out real quick. Of course, they're not glued in too hard, so there's that. All right. Yep, I think that'll be about right. All right, so let's just try to eyeball that middle and push her through. And from there, try to work it through a little bit. And see if we can dimple it. Oh, we may have did more than dimple. Nice. Yeah, sure enough. That plastic was thin enough to go through, so there you go. There's my starting spot. And yep, looking at it, it's pretty darn square in the middle. I'll straighten it up just a tad with the reamer here. But I think that'll be the next play. It's just to go with the reamer. And I like using the reamer because, of course, you can make the hole any size you need it to be without going too big or all right. It's a little bit of a tight fit for right now, but you can kind of see what that positioning is, and looking at it while it's flying, looks like it'll be hidden. The front wheel will be hidden in the black there, so that's cool. So that's kind of the placement of that. I think that'll work good. And it does seem to come up plenty enough so that I can still use the servo arm to mount and get it over here. So we may be able to do a servo off to the side here a little bit. We'll see. Definitely going to involve some foam cutting here, so we'll work on that. But I think that is a pretty good start. And just looking at how that is nothing. We set it down. Of course, you can adjust the height of that front wheel as well. So let's just get an idea how it sits. Oops, of course, this isn't tacked down or anything, so I'll hold it. And it goes right here. There we go. I don't need to hold it. There we go. All right, so that is a little nose down. So, oops. Put the foam here. All right. All right. And if it's still too tall, another thing that I can do, which wouldn't be a bad idea, would be to just spread these out more. And then from there, still use my zip tie hold so that they don't spread out any more than they already are. But we can get it quite a bit lower just by doing that. So there we go. Now looking at that, now we're in a nose up attitude. So there we go. So yeah. All right. So I think this is going to come along pretty good. And now the wheels, as you can see, since I've bent them out a little bit, they stick out a little bit further, probably another 1/4 inch or so on each side. But definitely now we have a nose up attitude, it looks like. So this thing should, in fact, take out without a problem. All right, cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and ream the rest of this out, and then I'm going to go ahead and start cutting out some of this foam so I can get ready to get this plate in there. And then once I get this plate in there, that'll make a big difference. And then from there, we'll be able to figure out where everything else is going to go. So not to bore you with this part, I'm going to go ahead and speed it up right now. All right, friends, so I'm running into a little bit of an issue where it's a little bit thicker at the bottom there. That foam's a little bit thicker than I was thinking. So when the shaft comes through all the way, it's barely capping out here at the top. So what I'm going to need to do here is cut some of these fins off and lower this down a little bit so I can get that servo in there. So stick around. All right, friends. So I've got the front gear in there. I do not have it installed, glued in or anything yet, but it looks like the servo is probably going to be somewhere in this area here. And as you can see from just the movement, it does seem to work pretty good. So we'll see about mounting that servo in a nice linear line. To do so, it looks like I might have to notch out a little bit of foam and mount the servo into the side of the foam there so that it's nice and linear with that and doesn't really restrict with the battery bay there. So that's probably what we're going to do with that. And then once we get that installed, then we're going to be working on getting that rear landing gear on, whether in a temporary manner or not. I think we probably, just based on looking at that first test, we could probably just go ahead and work on getting that countersunk in there. I think everything's going to look great. So stick around as we continue to work on this project.
All right, friends, so what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and mount this plate into the inside of the fuselage here. And what I'm going to do is, since this is, I'm going to use hot glue, but since this is so smooth and doesn't have much texture to it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put paper tape on the border here on the outside of this to help make sure that it really does adhere. So got my trusty paper tape. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Let me move this off here a bit. So you guys can see me do that. So anyway, here's the coming a little closer on that. But here's what I'm going to do with this. So basically, just like I said, it's because it's so smooth, the hot glue will easily come off of that. Since that's the front landing gear support, I want to make sure that thing's got some good use on it. Break out the old man glasses. Alright. So here I'm just going to do something simple. Don't want to cover the hole, of course, but I do want to do that. And I can leave those little tabs out, that's fine. Just more area for the glue to grab hold. Alright. Now we'll do a couple of these. Don't have to be fancy. Let's get this a little bit closer to the hole, but not in the hole. Alright. That's how that'll work. Alright, friends, so as you can see here, I've got inside, I've got basically mocked up where I want the servo to go. Let me come in a little closer here for you on that one. You kind of see where I have the servo mocked up here. It's not glued in or anything, that's just basically where I'm thinking it's going to go. And then, of course, this plate right here, I'm going to go ahead and get this glued in. But this plate is super smooth, as you can see. So the hot glue is going to have a hard time sticking on that real good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break out some handy paper tape. We're going to go ahead and paper tape this up. So let's do that. Go ahead and move this off the edge here. There we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paper tape basically the bottom of this around the hole so that we get some nice adhesion once we do hit it with the hot glue. And and we should be in good shape because I don't want that thing to move. All right, so it doesn't really matter how we do this here. All we want to do is get close to the hole there. Like that. Okay. There's that. All right. Now we get a couple of longer ones. Get as close to the hole as possible. There we go. There we go. Now, that's alright if I got some little wings on there because that's just more of the paper tape to grab the hot glue to help it stay down. So it's all good. So anyway, there we go. Alright, so that's how we're going to do that. And, of course, to prepare this area to be glued down, bring out the old hot glue gun. Move this off the side. It's not a great filler, but at the same time, I prefer not to get hot glue in it. And then do what we did in the that one video I made. Just put a little bead down and spin it around. So my hot glue could probably be a little bit warmer still. Alright, so we're just going to go around all the paper tape here. And just get this hot glue all over. Now we use the side tip to kind of smush it on down and really get it into that paper tape, which will also help adhere it to the smooth plastic below there. And this thing should not move a bit. Okay. Use the tip here just to smooth it on down. Smooth your little swirl lines and melt that glue into the paper. Alright, as you see, it's nice and shiny, so it's ready to roll. Alright, now I'll turn it back down since I'm about to use it on foam. Alright, now the plan here, do I have a good plan here? Yeah, I'll be alright. Just thinking about sticking a different rod up there, but I'll use this. This has got to be this will make it for perfect placement. That's nice and smooth. I can get any glue off there if it gets stuck. And I'm thinking that the hole that we put in there does provide good turn. So we should be fine there. Shouldn't drag on that servo too much. Alright. And since we're going down to straight paper, or straight foam here, inside here where I got this hole, we won't really need to do, this hot glue will stick to the foam just fine. I'm not worried about that. So what we'll do is we will put, let me grab my working stand here. Alright, so what we're going to do here is put this in the hole, and then there we go. So you guys can kind of see what's going on there a little bit. See the stem there, right there. And then basically we're going to drop this thing down right over it. Make sure it's nice and level in there. And let's see if there's anything else we need to do here. I think I cut out enough. Let's make sure. Just having that little paper tape on there is already making this thing hard to pull out. Alright. I think I got everything cut out of there just right. Yeah, I do. Okay. Alright, so the thing here is we won't need to put any hot glue in the plane. We'll just put it right here on the bottom of this thing. Just put this foam on there. Alright. And then once it's in, we can glue it in further. But right now, I'm just going to go a nice smooth round bead around here. Make sure there's plenty. All right. Ram one down in that hole. And push them all the way down. Pull the wheel out. And there we go. All right. Now let's see how that wheel goes in there. Like a dream. Yep. All right, boom. So that's the way it's going to look at the bottom. Man, this thing ought to be able to take off the grass, no problem. All right. So we still got to get the other parts in there. But as of right now, it's a pretty good start. Get a screwdriver for this wheel here. All right. That's a pretty good start. And then looking at, so I'll put this on here. This. Let's get an idea how that's gonna, how that servo is gonna look. Okay. All right. So what I'll probably have to do is maybe bend this arm sideways because it bends down right now. And if I bend it to the right, then it would help the arm come over. And then so I'm gonna have to bend that over. But I think, yeah, I don't feel too much resistance. That feels pretty good. So that's how we'll have to do that. We'll have to bend this arm over. Should be right. So that'll be something I'll need to do. I'll need to bend this over to this direction so that the servo arm can catch the servo where it's at. The placement of the servo right there should be fine. And then with my batteries and all that, instead of putting them on an upper tray, maybe I'll just drop them down low here. We'll see. And if I need to, I can even move this in further, but I think with what we got right there, that's pretty good. Because I can mount that flush against the wall there. So, like I was saying, we'll bend this part. So that this thing goes in bends in toward the fuselage, and then that way it'll catch the arm here. Either that or turn it so that the arm is the other direction. That's also an option. Let's see. Excuse me. Turn that servo around real quick. Of course, now it's going to push the lead into a different direction, but that's right. I already have to get an extension as it is. All right. So if we do that, I do like the arm on the inside like that. Of course, that keeps it out of having it on the inside is nice. I just have to figure out a way to get the. It may almost go in straight in like that. It's just a tad short, it looks like, but maybe not. Huh. All right, I'll have to take a look at that. So that rod is something I'll need to work with. Either that or swap it out with a straight rod. I do like the way that the arm coming in on this side is better, but I think depending on how it works, I think it's still best to put the servo lead toward the back, and maybe we'll just swap where the arm is there. So that'll be the next plan for that. And front wheel bracket is in. It's my paper tape. Okay. And now that it's in, you can also drop a little more glue around it, but we'll do that here shortly because we still have, as soon as I can find it, the triangle black piece, which I just had a minute ago. So anyway, there it is. All right, so we still have the triangle black piece that needs to go on top as well, because this locks in, I believe. Is it upside down? Yeah, upside down it locks in. That's what it is. So we may or may not use that. We'll see. I think it's probably not a bad idea if I do, but since I did cut that piece shorter, this isn't going to fit on there specifically anyway now. So, you know what? Maybe I won't use that anymore. All right, so that'll be the plan there. Easy peasy. Let's keep it simple. Keep it simple, stupid. So, we got that in there. Looks like it probably could use a little more glue. So let's give it a little bit more. Well, looks like it could use a lot more glue. Maybe it's not going to stick on that foam like I thought. Well, it will now since I just pulled it all off. Oh well, no worries. That's the great thing about hot glue. You can always put more back on. All right, back in the hole. And now that I realize I'm not going to use that triangle piece, I'll go ahead and put a good bead of the glue down here on top of this thing after it's set. All right, so I went ahead and put a pretty healthy bead on that there now. I won't tilt that too much right now, but we'll see. So got a pretty good healthy bead on top of it. It's nowhere near the hole itself, and it's encompassing the whole block there. So I could use a tad more down here at the back. Get that little extra bit of support. All right. Now what I will do as well, since I do have the paper tape out, I'm going to reinforce those seams where I just poured all that glue by taking a piece of paper tape sticking it in there all over that paper and glue, and then push it down on top of the glue while it's still warm, and should be able to these side pieces are a little tough to get in there. Alright, pull that off to the side here. But that front and back ought to be easy. So that works for me. There we go. And just use your fingers, even though the glue's still warm or hot, to get it to push into that paper. Alright. Alright. Alright, so we'll just let that settle and cool. It looks a little on the well done side in there. But that's pretty much what we're going to do there, because I'm not using any balsa wood or anything like that to support it. It's just going to be paper tape and out glue. So, and that is a pretty firm grip there. So, okay. Excuse me. Get it good onto the top. Blow on it, me. You got one little piece of foam in there, it seems like. Yeah, I wonder if a pipe cleaner will get it out. It didn't. All right. That's the front side. Now, we'll worry about the rest of this when I can get to that. For now, let's swap gears a bit. And look into doing this rear gear here. Oh, let's see what's easier. There we go. All right, rear gear. So we were talking about the rear gear. Going to need to be going into this area here. So with the wheel on it. Okay. So the wheels on it like that. Yeah, I think that probably do it. We just need to make sure that this is up a little bit higher maybe. But I think that's pretty close to level. We'll know more when we get there. But looking at this here, there's nothing in here. It's just foam. So what we're going to do is cut it out. Or at least start cutting it out with. Oops, just cut myself. All right, let's let that warm up. All right, friends. So I went ahead and got the foam all marked out just by pressing this into the foam some, so I can kind of get an idea what we're looking at here. So now I'm just going to go ahead and just carve some lines with this. All right, friends. So that's kind of how it looks. Let's see if I can give you a better shot. All right, gang. So you can kind of see here how it kind of looks. The landing gear on there and everything. Looks like it sits pretty level. Now I'm still gonna have to put the support struts on here, the zip tie supports to help keep these things from bending out too much, kind of thing. Although I don't think it'll be a huge problem. But I think where the wheel is just fine because we can bend these wheels out. Plus, once the wings get on here, this thing will be basically pointing upwards, getting ready to take off. So I don't think we'll have any problem with that. But I do think that will be pretty cool. It does seem to roll just fine. I got the back wheels in straight, and of course the cool thing about it is you don't want to, if you want to hand toss it or whatever, you just reach in there and unplug that thing and then pull out your wheels and bada bing, you can hand toss it. There you go. I didn't obstruct the hand tossing handles here. It did not obstruct the third camera hole here. So that should be a perfect spot for it. You still hand toss that bad boy. Of course, it's got the plastic cap here, so you want to try to land it in grass anyway. But that came out nice and straight. The wheel in the front looks good. I'm not going to worry about any exterior collar here unless I need it, because I think that looks pretty good. But basically, that'll be the plan. Get this Opterra, be able to take off from the ground with some landing gear that you can take on and off of it. So there is all that. Right up in that hole. There we go. So there you go, friends. Oh, you get in there a little higher. There we go. There we go, friends. All right, so that's a pretty good start for now. So stick around when we get that servo working and get a chance to give this a test, because we certainly don't need wings on this thing to test it. So we can get it out there in the street and see how fast this thing will go. But first, I got to get that servo working. So stick around.